Becoming a nurse was the dream that anchored my childhood. Yet, as I reached retirement age, I realized that over 4 decades had flown by since I first donned my uniform. Those years, filled with challenges and triumphs, had shaped me. When I was offered a part-time nursing position at a new hospital, I felt reinvigorated. Even the young nurses and doctors sought my guidance, often leaning on my experience. But not everyone appreciated it. "Hey, you old hag," a sharp voice cut through the air, laced with disdain. "Strutting around like you own the place, acting all high and mighty. You're just a nuisance, retire already." Dr. Kevin's words hit me like a slap. Cornered and ridiculed, I stood frozen. My name is Mary, and this is my story. As a child, I was no stranger to hospitals. Illness often kept me confined, and it was the kindness of the nurses who cared for me that planted a seed of purpose in my heart. I decided then that one day, I would wear their shoes, offering the same compassion that brought me comfort. Years later, with improved health, I pursued my dream, earning my nursing degree and stepping into a career that would span over 40 years. Nursing wasn't easy. The grueling hours, the weight of responsibility, it demanded everything I had. But every hardship faded when I saw a patient smile as they left the hospital, healed and hopeful. Those moments fueled me. Supported by my husband and children, I endured and thrived. When I reached retirement age, my heart still yearned to serve. My family encouraged me, and I took their words to heart, applying for a part-time position. The new hospital seemed perfect, a place where my experience was valued. I became a mentor, guiding young nurses and doctors. But not everyone welcomed me. Dr. Kevin, a young and talented but abrasive doctor, made his feelings clear. He often ignored my greetings or resorted to childish provocations. "Good morning, Dr. Kevin," I'd say with a smile. He would huff and walk away without a word. Did I do something wrong? I asked a colleague one day, feeling dejected. "It's not you," she reassured me. "Kevin might have good skills, but his attitude makes him the worst kind of doctor." One day, Kevin's simmering hostility boiled over. He stormed up to me, his face twisted in anger. "Retire already," he snapped, his voice dripping with venom. I stood stunned, watching as he slammed his fist into a piece of equipment. "Dr. Kevin, please control your temper," I said gently. "It's unprofessional to take it out on hospital property." His glare could have pierced steel. "Old hag," he muttered under his breath. "What gives you the right to lecture me?" His voice grew louder. "You're a nuisance. Useless old hag, walking around like you own the place." Before I could respond, he kicked over a trash can, its contents scattering across the floor. My heart raced, not with anger but with shock. Instead of retaliating, I calmly walked to the nurse's station. Pulling out a piece of stationery, I began drafting my resignation letter. Kevin smirked triumphantly. "About time you understood," he sneered before storming off. Once finished, I sealed the letter in an envelope and left it on the director's desk. I had no regrets. Over the years, I had given everything to my work. If this hospital couldn't value me, there were others that would. My skills and experience weren't tied to one place. The next morning, as I relaxed in the living room with my husband, my phone buzzed. The director's name flashed on the screen. A knot formed in my stomach as I picked up. "Director? Is everything all right?" His voice trembled, barely coherent through his tears. "Mary, the hospital is in chaos. Please, don't quit." "Calm down," I urged. "What's going on?" Through shaky breaths, he explained. "A nurse must have seen your resignation letter. Word spread overnight, and now the nurses are threatening to leave if you go. They're refusing to work except for emergencies. Patients are panicking, and the hospital is on the brink of disaster." I gripped the phone tightly, stunned. My decision had set off a chain reaction I hadn't anticipated. This was only the beginning. The hospital was in chaos. The director, a seasoned professional who had weathered countless storms, was at his wit's end. "Mary, we're in big trouble," he said, his voice quivering as though the weight of the world pressed down on him. "This has never happened before, not since the hospital first opened. If we can't get you back," his words trailed off, heavy with desperation. "What's going on?" I asked, concerned. "Is it the treatment? The environment? Please, tell me." His response came in a rush, panic barely concealed. "The nurses, they're on strike. Patients are panicking. Outpatient care is in shambles. Mary, the staff refuses to work without you. Please, we need you to come back." His words struck me deeply. I thought of the patients, their trust, their hope. My instinct was to rush to their aid, but I held back. There was unfinished business. "Director," I said, steadying my voice, "I need to tell you what happened. Dr. Kevin, last night, I recounted the cruel words, the humiliation." The director listened, his shock palpable. I suspected Kevin had issues, but this, he sighed heavily. "Mary, I'm so sorry. I'll deal with him. But please, can you come back?" "Only if he apologizes to me directly," I replied firmly. "Understood," he said, his tone resolute. "We'll make it happen. Just, please, come quickly." After hanging up, I made my way to the hospital. The sight that greeted me was unlike anything I'd ever seen. The nurse station was packed, veteran nurses shouting angrily, their voices rising above the din. At the center of the commotion stood Kevin, pale and trembling, his usual bravado stripped away. "Go apologize to Mary," one nurse demanded, her finger pointing at him like a dagger. "That's right. You're the reason she's leaving," another chimed in. Kevin, clearly out of his depth, remained silent, his face tense. My heart softened at the sight. He looked like a chastised child cornered by a roomful of angry adults. "Everyone," I called out, stepping forward, "I'm sorry for causing such trouble." The nurses turned to me, their expressions a mix of relief and determination. "Dr. Kevin," I said gently, "come with me." "To where?" he stammered, bewildered. "To the director's office," I replied, guiding him through the crowd. Inside the office, the director sat, his frustration evident. "Kevin," I said, "explain what happened. I want to hear it from you." Kevin hesitated, but under the weight of the situation, he began to speak. His voice was low, his words hesitant, but he confessed everything. The director's face darkened as the story unfolded. "What are you, a child?" he snapped, incredulous. "I had high hopes for you, Kevin. You're talented, yes, but your behavior is unacceptable. I've clearly let things slide too far." Turning to me, he said, "Mary, I owe you an apology. I should have addressed this sooner." Kevin, perhaps realizing the gravity of his actions, mumbled, "I'm sorry." I leaned forward, pretending not to hear. "What was that, Dr. Kevin?" "You know, my old ears aren't what they used to be." Sorry," he repeated, louder this time. Though his apology lacked sincerity, I chose to let it go for the moment. "Dr. Kevin," I said, my tone firm but kind, "I'll forgive you. But from now on, I'll be keeping an eye on you. You have potential, but you need to learn." The director nodded in agreement. "Mary, will you stay with us?" "Yes," I said simply, relief washing over the room. The nurses dispersed, and Kevin, forced by the director, bowed his head again. Months passed, and the change in Kevin was remarkable. Slowly, he began to soften. He watched, he listened, and he learned. Patients began to praise him, and the nurses, though still teasing him about the incident, started to accept him. One day, I called out to him. "Dr. Kevin, come join us for coffee." I brought snacks. He hesitated, then nodded. "Okay." As we sat together, chatting and laughing, I couldn't help but marvel at how far we'd come. Working in this field, You meet all kinds of people. Some challenge you, some inspire you, and some surprise you. That's what makes it so fulfilling. At 65, I'm still here, still learning, still growing. And as for Kevin, well, he still glances nervously at me sometimes. But I think he's finally beginning to understand what it truly means to care for others.